Hey everybody, happy Tutorial Thursday where my camera is completely not focused on me. Focus on me, camera. Yes? No? Yay! Hi everybody! Happy Tutorial Thursday. How's everybody doing? I don't have sound, do I? Oh, Lori can hear me. Okay. Oh, there we go. It appears to have unlocked itself. Cool. The sound monitor bar was just frozen for a moment, which is what it does when all of the technology is going kerflooey. Cool. So yay, I have sound. So happy Tutorial Thursday. Hi Pam and Lori and everyone else who's out there. I appreciate you being here on a Thursday afternoon lunchtime tutorial for this project. This is our ear festoon. So I have an employee, Carol Ferguson, who doesn't have pierced ears, and she wears clip-on earrings, really cool clip-on earrings that she makes, but I'm always kind of on the lookout for an interesting idea for her that's not a clip-on, and so this is kind of a fun variation on, oh my god, computer, really? I swear. Let me fix the exposure and turn off the Heather because there's no Heather yet. Poor Heather had a flood in her hallway this morning because of her air conditioner was leaking, so that's a terrible way to start the day. Okay, we can shed a little more light on the subject now. So, so this is basically kind of a fancier cuff that doesn't necessarily just go around the outside of your ear, but it actually goes behind your ear, and then you have this at the top that's going to show like right here, and then you have this piece that curves around and hooks into the bottom that would show almost like where a pierced earring would be, and if you wanted to, you could even, you know, put some dangles there so it would dangle like a typical pierced earring. So let's talk tools and supplies for this afternoon's, not evening yet, afternoon's tutorial. You're going to need some twisted square wire. You can twist square wire by hand using a pin vise and a pliers, or you can twist it in a drill. So this is a wire that started out its life as square, meaning it has, you know, 4 sides, and so when you twist it, what you get to get this spiraling effect is that's literally the sides, the corners of the wire twisting into kind of like a helix pattern. So twisted 20 gauge square wire. You're gonna need some top drilled beads. On this one I used 12. I'm gonna try and use these carnelian here because they're really pretty. I don't know if I'm gonna need 12 or 10 because these are a little bit bigger than these. I'm gonna need 2 center drilled beads that are gonna go in the middle, and I have 2 little flat pearls for that. And you're going to need some 26 gauge wire. Ideally that matches your square wire. So I've got gold filled square wire here, so I've got gold filled 26 gauge wire here. As far as tools that you're going to need, obviously whatever you need for twisting the wire. So that's either going to be a pin vise, which I don't have one in front of me, but it's a little thing, it's basically a hand drill. So you put the wire into the chuck of the little drill and you screw it down tight, and then you hold the other end with the pliers, and then you just spin the pin vise, and that'll make your twist. The quicker way to do that is to put this into the chuck of a power drill. Now the only thing is, and the reason I'm not actually doing it for you on stream, is because I don't have an infinite chuck for my Dremel, so you have to have a chuck that's going to go down to this tiny size. So your typical, like all the collets I have for my Dremel, okay, Lori, you're gonna laugh your ass off. Be prepared. Yes, good vibes. Every Thursday we stream at noon, which usually means actually 12:15. But Lori, I just grabbed my Dremel to see what collet was in it, And look what's stuck to it. Yes, that is in fact the piece that I thought flung off into the wild blue yonder on the tutorial the other day when I was doing the halo ring, but apparently no, it was stuck on my Dremel the whole time. That's pretty hilarious. So even this, now I can finish the ring, exactly. Oh my gosh. So even the collet that's on the Dremel right now, see, it doesn't go, come on, let me show you on camera. It doesn't go all the way down, doesn't close all the way. So it's still probably too big for the wire. So what you need is what's called an infinite chuck or collet. So you need it to basically come down literally to absolutely closed. You know, 4 points all come together. That's what you need if you're going to twist wire with a flex shaft or a Dremel or a power drill. You just need to make sure that you can hold that 20 gauge square wire. So in addition to tools for twisting your wire, you're just going to need your basics. You're going to need your chain nose and your round nose and your wire cutters. And that's pretty much it. And of course, your own 2 hands. So I'm going to start by making this first loop and putting beads on it. So that is just going to be accomplished by taking my round nose pliers, grabbing at the very end of my wire and turning around a loop. So you want to make sure that the end of your loop is slightly overlapping the beginning of your loop. That way your wire is not going to just start falling off. And you want to make sure you have a fairly generously sized loop here because you're going to be wrapping all of this stuff into it. So I use the biggest part of my round nose and this loop should be just fine. Now I'm going to grab my 26 gauge wire and I'm just going to cut myself a decent sized piece to work off of. This is probably about 2.5 feet, maybe 3. And go ahead and make sure that I've got some beads that are accessible. So I'm going to take my 26 gauge wire and I'm just going to start okay, so this is how this is going to go. So we want that coming upwards because this is now going to curl around and become the back of our ear festoon. So I'm just going to take my wire and I'm going to wrap it around the straight part of the wire about 4 times to anchor it, make sure it's nice and tight. And then we're going to start adding our beads. So I'm going to take one of my, and so these are carnelian top drilled teardrops. So I'm going to take one of my teardrops and thread that through like so. Pull it all the way down. Until it sits against your hoop, and then you're going to take your wire, and this is where you get the lovely double chin thing, but I swear to God, this is like the most unflattering pose ever, and it's really hard to talk. This is the best way to keep your wire from kinking. So you're going to hold your wire under your chin and just thread that through that hole, and just slowly pull it. So what you want is you want to make sure that that goes through with no kinks. You just want to make sure it goes through straight like that, which it did. Awesome. So now I've got 1 bead on. Then I'm just going to do 1 wrap with no bead. So again, through, around, make sure it doesn't kink, pull through, pull nice and tight. Now next one. So good vibes. Last night I was telling the stream about a repair that I was working on that I swear to God is haunted because it's a really simple knotting repair. It's not difficult at all, but the cord keeps snapping for no apparent reason, And also, one of the pieces of the clasp got lost yesterday. Like, it was on my workstation and then it wasn't on my workstation, and 2 hours later I untucked my shirt because it was getting uncomfortable, and the clasp just comes pew out of the waistband of my pants. It's just been absolutely a nightmare. So Heather said you could sympathize with haunted objects. Like, I don't know what's up with this stupid necklace, but I have never in my career had this much trouble with a job that's that easy. And I've done a lot of knotting jobs in my career, and a lot of, you know, knotting jobs that are exactly the same as this. I've never had this many mishaps happen. Okay, so now I brought my second one on. So anyway, my conclusion is that it's haunted. Seriously, that clasp though, I was almost about to call one of my witchy friends and be like, okay, just tell me, how do I get the fairies to give back the clasp that they stole, because I really need it. Oh goodness. Okay, so this is my third one. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to just set them around the outside. Now notice how right now this one is too close. It's not going to set straight. So what I need to do is I need to just wiggle it out a little bit so the point will set right straight against that loop. Then hold it there. Take your end. Go through the loop. And it's another hot and sunshiny day here in Dallas. We're supposed to top 100 again today. It's already in the high 90s. And I'm about to go to Houston this weekend, where it's going to be in the probably low 100s, but it's going to be like 90% humidity. So that's going to be exciting. Okay, so there's 3. Another one. Which, I mean, honestly, there's a great debate among, you know, Texans as to who has the worst weather, Houston or Dallas. And I'm like, well, Houston doesn't actually get as hot as Dallas, but it's way more humid. So I'm like 101 with, you know, 70-80% humidity, or 112 with 30% humidity. I mean, I honestly think you're equally miserable in both of those situations. I know, long lengths of wire are difficult, Pam. Seriously, try this super unattractive double chin trick. It really does help with getting your wire through without kinking. The other thing that helps is, invariably when you're going through a smaller space like this, you're going to see your wire starting to do this as you go through. So just untwist that, because that's a kink that's waiting to happen. And then it should pull through just fine. Oh, send some of those thunder showers to us, Lori, because we need the rain like whoa. My poor garden. I've got a bunch replanted after the great, you know, garden massacre of 2022, and most of it's doing well, but some of my new stuff is already starting to croak from the heat. It's like, can we just get a break, please? Can we get a thunderstorm? Because everyone will be real happy about that. So it looks like I'm going to need 6 of these as well. Oh, if only we could trade weather for 2 days. I think everyone involved would appreciate that. Okay, so I'm going to do one more. But I'm glad Heather's not on, because if she saw 64 degrees, she would just bypass Beading Dreams and start driving north. Okay, last one. String on your bead. And bring it all the way down. And we're just going to set that up so it, you know, completes our little flower design. Alright, like so. And then I'm going to wrap through my circle again. You know, I think people are always going to complain about the weather. I mean, now granted, our summer here in Dallas got way hotter, way faster than it usually does, but at the same time, when people complain about the weather, it's like, you live in Dallas. You know you live in Dallas, right? Like, you're familiar with the climate in which you live. Like, hot as hell and dry in summer. Like, this is not news. This should not be news to anybody. Again, our summer started more quickly than it usually does, but still, it's like, that's the way it is. Okay, so now I've got to, I know, right? If we could only trade. Okay, so now I need to stabilize these, because you can see they're just kind of wobbly? No, wobbly is not a word. Wobbly is the word I'm looking for. So I'm going to take my 26 gauge wire and I'm going to start doing this pattern. Under 2, over 1. Then under 2, so that would be the one I just went over in the next one, and over 1. Under 2, over 1. So you should start making these little lines across your teardrops all around your little flower shape. So under 2, over 1, under 2, over 1. And we're going to do this a couple times around, because even going once around doesn't quite get everything as stable as you would like. Yes, I mean, I'm not going to say I'm a huge fan of summer in Texas, because that would be really weird, but I would rather go through summer in Texas any day than go through winter in Wisconsin. 100%. It's not even a contest. I hate winter so much. So very much. It is the worst, most awful season ever on the planet. Alright, so I'm just continuing under 2, over 1 until these feel nice and stable, until they don't feel like they're going to just, you know, wobble about. Alright, so I think one more round and it should be good. Oh, I wish weeds were barely growing in my garden. My garden is being slowly overtaken by the weeds. And it's too dang hot to get out there and weed. Okay, so now I've got this pretty well stabilized where these aren't flopping around anymore. They're pretty sturdy. So now I'm going to put on my little pearl center, which is going to go right there. So all I'm going to do that is I'm going to go up through my middle. So notice my 2.5 to 3 feet of 26 gauge, like I've only got about 10 inches left. So that wasn't as much of an overestimation as you might have thought at the time that I said it. Okay, I'm going to go up through the middle, through my pearl bead, and then back down through the middle. So as long as your bead is not too small, it'll just catch right on top of that loop. You want to make sure when you're doing it that it stays flat. It doesn't get kind of cattywampus and twisted. So just lay it down flat and then yank the rest of your wire through nice and tight. And there you go. That's the center of your little flower. And then we can just go ahead and take this wire and wrap it right around our square wire to finish it off. same amount as before, so 3 or 4 times is good. 3, 4, trim, and don't forget to tuck your pointy stabby in because nobody wants that to scratch their ear. Okay, so now that we have this done, now we're going to go ahead and we're going to make this curve. And it is helpful to have a ring stick or a dowel when you're doing this, but if you don't, you can totally just do it with your fingers. But I'm just going to take this and bend it over my dowel to start making this curve. Now you can see that's way too big, so I'm just going to make that, I'm going to use my fingers to just kind of pull that in. You'll notice that twisted square wire is very springy, so you're going to have to move it a fair amount to get it to spring back to where you want. Like, see how much that springs back? I don't want that, so we're going to go ahead and just smooth that out. So I'm trying to just kind of mirror what I have here, like so. And then what I'm going to do is, right here at the bottom, I'm going to bend my wire forward to make that place that it hooks over your ear. So I'm just going to take my round nose and I'm going to grab right at that point, and I'm just going to bend my wire up like so. So I'm essentially making a little hook. And let's just make sure I didn't make that too long. That was a problem when I was doing my prototype, was I kept, yeah, see, it's way too long. I kept making it too long, so I'm just going to unbend that and move that up about 1/4 of an inch. I'm going to try there instead and bend it up like so. So again, that's what you're going for, kind of a U curve to the front. So all of the pearls in the sample are drilled in the top. They're all top drilled, just like these carnelians that I'm using. But you could actually use center drilled pearls. You just have to wrap them around the frame like we were doing like a wrap it up earring instead of doing this reinforcing technique here. But no, these are all top drilled, as are these. Okay, that's closer. So then I'm going to take this front wire and I'm going to take my round nose pliers like so, and I'm just going to bend that around my round nose pliers to make another loop. And once again, we want to slightly overlap the end of that loop, just to make sure it doesn't come open. And then we can go ahead and trim the rest of our twisted wire off. The words trim and twisted kind of collided in my brain there, and both came out at once. Okay, so now we need another piece of 26 gauge wire that's about the same length as the one we had before. So 2.5 or 3 feet. The U-bend is on, okay, this one's probably actually too high. Thank you for pointing that out. It should be about 1/4 of an inch to sit like right on your earlobe. That's going to be a little variable, of course, depending on what your earlobes actually look like. Okay, so I brought mine down a little bit. I think that's going to be better. This is one of those things that, you know, you're going to have to mess around with it a little bit to customize it to your ear or the ear of, you know, whomever you're making it for. Also, this is a directional piece, meaning this is for my right ear. It's not going to go on my left ear because the festoon will be to the back. So if you want to do a left ear, you're going to have to curve the opposite way. So just bear in mind that there is a directional element to this. Okay, so now I'm going to take my 26 gauge wire and I'm going to anchor it around this twisted wire right here. Again, 3 or 4 times is good. So we've got 1 and 2, make sure you pull really tight. 3. And 4. Make sure you snug that up nice and close to your loop. She says. Alright, and then you can trim off your short end. And now we're going to commence with adding our beads, just like we did before. So that means I need 1 carnelian. Alright, so then we're going to position that carnelian on the outside of the loop. Like so, and then we're going to wrap through the circle twice. So Lori, how is the moving prep going? Are you close to being done, or have you just begun? Okay, so just go ahead and pull it nice and tight. Make sure it's sitting flat, like so, and then wrap through again. And don't do what I just did, because I wrapped the opposite way and I just undid my work, which was fantastic. Just what I need. Sorry, I need to actually look at this and not try and do it in the camera. So tonight on the Beading Dream stream is Torch Thursday, and I'm attempting a rather large and ambitious project, so we'll see how that goes. This is what we're doing tonight. This is a soldered bronze headband with a cabochon. So a really fun decorative headpiece for everybody who wants to make fun stuff like that but maybe isn't feeling the tiaras. That's a really good alternative because it's fancy but it's not, it doesn't stick up, so it's a little bit more understated. And then tomorrow night is our Zoom crafty cocktail time. So if you want to actually hang out and let me see all of your beautiful faces, that Zoom starts at 6 p.m. Central Time. If you've Zoomed with us before, the credentials are the same. Also, you should have gotten an email. If you haven't Zoomed with us before, just email us beadingdreamsdallas@gmail.com. We are happy to get that information to you. It's always a good time. Everyone works on a project. Most of us have cocktails, not all of us. It's a great time to get a little bit of help. If you need help with a particular project, I'll be on, and so will Heather. So you can get help on a project, or you can get opinions from the crowd. It's a really great kind of community time. So anybody who can join us tomorrow, we would absolutely love to see you. Oh dear. I can track that, Lori, and see where it is. Well, but I kind of want to know too if it's even left the country yet. So all I'm doing whilst I'm tracking Lori's package is I'm just adding my beads just like I did before. I'm going to put 6 on there. Oh goodness. No, working on your lap with cats is difficult. I definitely have done that before. It usually winds up with Ziggy stepping on a bead board and beads just going flying. Because I think there are still beads in the couch that I put to the side of the road when I moved. Like, I don't even care. Not going in after them. But hey, if you've got cats on your lap, maybe there'll be an on-stream cat appearance. Alright, I'll have to get back to you on that, Lori, because I'm not seeing the tracking, so I'll have to ask Heather what program she used to do the shipping. So I'll let you know. Alright, so I've got 4 on out of 6. So 2 more. Today I get to work on class samples for next week. I've got a couple fun ideas. So hopefully we'll have a fun class week next week. I'm going to continue with new merchandise and our CZ Pave trunk show in our live sales. And then still trying to figure out what exactly I'm going to do for my birthday sale on Saturday the 23rd, but I have a couple weeks. Okay, so now I've got all of my 6 carnelians wrapped on. Now I'm going to start doing that pattern of under 2 over 1, under 2 over 1, under 2 over 1. So when I say under 2, 1 is the one you just went over, and then 2 is the next one, and then over that one. Under 2 over 1, under 2 over 1, under, come on, 2 over 1, and you're just going to keep going around with that under 2 over 1. And I did 4 times around on this top one, so I'm going to go ahead and do 4 times around on the bottom one just because I want them to look the same. Okay, so I think that's my 4 times around. So now I'm going to just go to the back and come up through the middle. And put on my second pearl. And then I'm going to go down through the middle and just pull that wire all the way through. And just make sure that pearl winds up sitting in there nice and securely. Like so. And then I'm just going to take this and wrap it off right here on this wire. Again, 3 or 4 times is sufficient. So that was 3 times around. Trim that off. Just down your pokey stabby bit. And there you go. That is your ear festoon. So the way that it goes on, and you may have to do some adjusting for your own ear, or if you're making it for a client, the ear of your client, but the twisted wire goes behind your ear, and ideally your earlobe will slot into that bend so that you've got one there and one up here. And it's kind of it's a fun look. You could also, if you have pierced ears but you just want to make this part, what you would do at that point is you would take your bottom here and you would just make a small loop. So it would essentially go around the hole in your ear, and then you could put an earring still in your hole, but then you could have this part up here looking pretty for you. So that's it for our lunchtime tutorial. Thank you for hanging out for our wire ear festoon tutorial. I'm Allison from Beading Dreams in Dallas, Texas. We are an actual brick and mortar retail bead store. We're here on Lovers Lane in Dallas, and we are about to open in 3 minutes. Don't forget you can also find us on this channel, twitch.tv/beadingdream, Wednesday through Saturday at 6 p.m. Central Plus, Thursdays at noon, that's this tutorial, and live merchandise sales every Wednesday and Saturday at 7:30 p.m. So that means I'll be back on this channel, twitch.tv/beadingdream, tonight with Torch Thursday, doing our soldered bronze headband. So I will see y'all then. Everyone have a great afternoon, and we'll see you tonight. Thank you.